Oh, wait, I didn't put my thingy on. As per usual, I do this like a ding-dong. Countdown clock. Let's go. Ding, 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 ding.
Nobody asked. Nobody asked. Nobody asked. Nobody asked.
This is terrible.
Nobody asked.
Nobody wonder what the song states. Someday we'll make a sound just for us that you can all enjoy. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's special emergency episode of Nobody Asked with Maria.
Hello.
And me. I am her son, who looks the same age.
Not really. Hi.
That was my old person face. Okay. Today we'll be covering such topics as the new leaked opinion from the majority of a case about Roe versus Wade, but it was actually about a different topic. Well, it was still about abortion. Anyway, a leaked opinion about that. And we felt like we should do an episode about this right quick because we talked about abortion last time, and that's what we will be talking about today. Yeah.
Indeed we will. I got strong feelings about it, and I'm ready to explode.
We've got strong feelings by the dozen. They're countable. And your audio is still in that kind of war zone mode.
I don't know what to do about that. I don't think it's
either.
Okay. Well, what do you mean? I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Would you like to introduce the first topic?
Sure. It is the only topic. It is about...
No, just kidding. You thought that because this episode was about an emergency topic that we wouldn't have gotten a sponsor? No. Sponsors are clamoring at the door of our sponsor room where we have sponsorship meetings, and they're saying, let us in to this emergency. Nobody asked to sponsor. And today we've got a very special one. Ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is sponsored by Senator Orrin Hatch for President 2024. He gave us this message, and he asked that I do an impression of him for the campaign ad. And my best impression of Orrin Hatch is
yes, he in fact died.
Dead. But the Republican Party has told me that they think that they might be able to puppet his dead corpse into a debate, and he will be voiced by none other than Douglas Trump, who is a Donald Trump impersonator, and he'll be saying things like, "I'm not dead. I've never been dead. Dead is not something I'll be," and he'll be running. So go ahead and vote for Orrin Hatch for president in the next election. Thanks, guys.
I'm voting for a toaster.
I'm voting for a Canadian takeover, peaceful, and we'll just deal with their nonsense.
Sounds nice. That sounds nice. I mean, they're not perfect, but...
Oh, no. But the worst controversy their president is in is the whole blackface thing. It's not like, not being sentient or some sort of insurrection.
Yeah. Insurrection. Boy, we should talk about that someday because goodness gracious. It's just one piece of a giant puzzle. But today's piece of the puzzle that we're going to talk about is the impending decision on Roe versus Wade, that the documents have been leaked. The opinions of the court have been leaked. It is like 96, 98 pages. I certainly haven't had a chance to read all of that, but I can tell you that it is available in its entirety on Politico. And if you're the kind of person that can deep dive on that kind of stuff, I encourage you to do so. And if you can give me the hot sound bites, I would really like that. I do not have the hot sound bites, but I'm quite interested in them for my own personal reasons that I may share later. But this, since Roe versus Wade wasn't really the case that was before them, what was before them was Mississippi's Dobbs versus Jackson's Women Health Organization. Apparently, Jackson's Women Health Organization, which is the only one that can perform abortions in Mississippi, basically went to the courts to sort of get an injunction for the 15-week gestational age act that Mississippi passed, saying, hey, this is outside of what is allowed constitutionally. Because constitutionally, you can't limit any abortions that are before the age of viability. And 15 weeks is still considered before the age of viability. For some reason, that is the new standard that the Republicans are pushing, is that 15 weeks is viable for reasons unknown. They're saying, hey, technology has caught up, but it hasn't. 15 weeks is still not the age of viability. I don't know why they want to think it is. It still isn't. So anyway, Jackson's Women Health Organization was able to sort of stop this ban from going into effect, and then that happened in the Fifth Circuit Court, and then Mississippi itself said, no, let's take it higher. Let's go all the way to the Supreme Court, which, in my opinion, is what all of these rules were about. Let's get Roe versus Wade overturned. It was always about, we'll throw as many restrictions as we can and see what sticks, see which one will make it all the way to the Supreme Court. And this is the one that did it. Now, generally speaking, because of the rules of viability, that is the way in 1992 that they sort of changed Roe v. Wade, was by throwing that sort of caveat in. That's what's limiting, all of these abortion bans to this point. And states feel like they should get to decide. And that this is arbitrary, this idea of viability. What's viability mean? Why is viability important? And I have a feeling that Judge Alito is going to say something very similar, that he doesn't even understand why viability is important in making these types of decisions. So I'm quite looking forward to the wording on that.
Yep.
Here's another important thing to note, that at the moment we have 13 states that have a trigger clause or a trigger laws written into their abortion legislation. And what that means is that if Roe v. Wade is overturned, then these clauses will come into effect immediately. They will be activated, and it will basically ban abortions completely or almost completely in these 13 states. Now, I say almost completely because they all have some sort of medical emergency clause in them. They all have something. Sometimes it's written more specifically where it's, it will cause the death of the mother. Some of them are real specific. It's not just a medical emergency. She's going to have to die or else. And also, you still got to try first before you just go ahead with that. You still need to do everything possible. So some of them are real interestingly worded. I will say 1, 2, 3, 4, only 4 of them make exceptions for rape and incest. Only 4 of those 13 states that will have an outright ban. I would like to list those states in case people listening would like to know what those states are.
Okay.
They are Arkansas, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming.
Which ones of those have the rape and incest clauses?
Idaho, Mississippi, Utah, and Wyoming.
Hey, dude, places we
maybe
live.
Not what you would expect.
I can't believe Mississippi. How interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mississippi also includes if there is something physically wrong with the child. So some sort of I don't know exactly what that means, but, not just it's a ectopic. If there is something wrong with that child, you could possibly get an abortion for that, which is an interesting point.
I mean, it's like, do you think it's murder or not? Because if you think it's murder, are you saying it's okay to kill kids with physical maladies? I mean, or, what's the point you're making when you're putting that in there? Not that I think that we should it, encourage them to decrease the number of situations that abortions are available, but I just find it to be like, what do you actually want from this when that stuff starts to get introduced?
I think it's a great question. What do they actually want? As has been my question all along, I have feelings about what all of this is really about, particularly right now when we have the lowest abortion rates right now since Roe v. Wade happened.
Yep.
Right now they are, what is it? It's around 630,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting. You want to know what else is interesting? Is that there are, any given year, there's between 1 and 2 million couples in the United States that want to adopt. So I'm not saying that there's a relationship, but to me it feels like there's a relationship between those two things. So especially when you go to, so I was on this website called adoptionnetwork.com, and they gave me all kinds of interesting statistics. And the one I found really interesting was when it said there were 1 to 2 million couples waiting for children. And then it said that there were 1.3 abortions a year, as if to say if we didn't have abortions, all of these empty homes would be filled. Now, that isn't actually what the abortion numbers are, so I don't know why they say that on their website. But it is interesting. It does upset me. Let's see. So, if you want to get into race, when it comes to adopting children, about 37% of the children that are adopted are white, and about 73% of parents who are adopting are white. So most of the adoptions you're going to be adopting outside of your race, which to some people is important. And the reality is most people want babies. 62% of adoptions happen within the first month of birth. So I don't know if that tells you something. They want babies. They want babies. You want to complete this idea in your head about what a family looks like, and if you can't have it yourself, you want somebody else's baby.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part of me that can appreciate that. I mean, that's what we've been fed for a long time, is that this is the way to fulfill that emptiness in your heart. But that doesn't entitle you to somebody else's child. It doesn't mean that you even should have a child. I don't mean to be mean, but sometimes there's a reason that that some people don't get approved for adoption. Some people don't get approved. If you can't get approved for foster care, there might be a reason for it. If you can't, people that tend to go internationally to get children, there's usually a reason for it. And it's not just that there's a shortage of children for them. It's that they aren't great, or maybe they're too picky about what child they let into their home.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very touchy subject because it is a lie that we've told ourselves that, in order to be a complete woman or a complete family, you must have children. And so that desire is even, it's just societally pushed on us. And so sometimes, CPS, there are some times where, children are taken away and they absolutely should be. And, they get adopted into a family and it all works out great. There are other times when, if somebody had just given that family a little bit of help, the biological family, they would have been able to take care of that child, and that child would have been happier because they know their family. They look like them, they sound like them. You can't hear me, Colin. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep, I can hear you perfectly now.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I just struggle with this idea that, societally, we've always been taught that to be complete, you need a child, you need to have a family. This is part of the American dream. And that, there's all of these unwanted children out there. Why can't I get one? I should make you have the child that you don't want so that my dreams can be fulfilled. It's weird. I also want to say, part of the other part of the Roe versus Wade thing and why it's getting overturned is the idea that it was a weak ruling to begin with. And I kind of felt that way too. I didn't understand how privacy and abortion, they didn't link up in my mind really clearly. Why, when we were talking about it through the 14th Amendment, I didn't totally get it. And so I part of me understands what they're saying, but we've lived with it for how many years now? Close to almost 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a point where it becomes this is part of our tradition and culture, which I believe is something Alito is trying to say. This is not part of our tradition and culture, when it very much is. Abortions were happening before 1973. It's just in 1973 we said all states have to allow it in the first trimester. Yep. That's what happened. There were abortions before that. So what he's saying is inaccurate. But I think the other part of it is, because they're using this 14th Amendment, they're using privacy, they're using some of these particular parts of the Constitution, and they're saying that doesn't get us there. That doesn't make abortion okay. Those are the same things that allowed contraception to happen. So will contraception rights be taken away from us? Will gay marriage falls into that same category? Will that be taken away? It feels like it's a slippery slope scenario. And normally it's pretty easy to get Republicans concerned about slippery slopes, because that's why it's really hard to get gun legislation to go through, right? Because they're like, hey, man, if you're willing to limit this, what else are you going to limit? You're going to try to take all my guns. But here's not, slippery slope is a real concern, especially because these very much align with the same thought process of, why people think abortion shouldn't be allowed. I don't know, man. I have a lot of feelings, but
I'm surprised that you find the privacy ruling to be kind of weak.
Well, I just don't know. I don't see how it ties in with an abortion. I don't see how. Like, I get the idea that nobody gets to know, nobody gets to have access. That should be between me and my doctor. But what does that have to do with what the laws are about when I can have an abortion?
Well, the argument is that an abortion is a procedure upon your own body, and that you have a right to privacy in the decisions of what you do with your own body, that no entity can determine what you do with your body unless you have violated the law in some sort of a way, right? And so it's not in the power of any legislature to take away your right to do something with your body. So that I think the whole idea behind it is that there's some sort of a sliding scale where over the course of pregnancy, excuse me, the the pregnancy goes from 100% your body to your body and another thing's body, and it slides over the course of the pregnancy. And where do we draw the line on your right to do something with your body and the right of the other body when does it become body? Because both have their own rights, but the right to privacy is preserved in the Constitution. So,
I don't know. I literally heard somebody say today, he's married. He just went to the 8-week appointment with his wife, and he heard his child's heartbeat, and he said, "No, it's not about her anymore." He literally said it. He said that part out loud, and it's not just about she's no longer a person to him anymore. She is now the host of his child. And part of me gets it, but just the act of hearing a heartbeat at 8 weeks and the fact that it was going twice as fast as his heartbeat hit him a certain way. And now his wife was an unimportant factor. And I don't know, man. That's where my problem is.
Somebody saying this?
I'm sure we were talking about the heartbeat law. It was on a TikTok. It was a comment under a TikTok. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, it just drives me crazy. Well, it doesn't drive me crazy because there's part of me that gets it, right? I had 2 children. I heard their heartbeats. Was that the moment where it was real for me? I don't know. It was real for me, I think, the second I peed on a stick. But I understand how blessed I am to never have had to make a hard decision. I didn't have anything medically wrong that prevented me from, having the children. I didn't have any socioeconomic situations that prevented it, any mental health issues, any, I wasn't raped. None of the things happened to me. I was okay. I was going to be able to make it work. And I was excited. I had 9 months to get ready and be excited about it. I just think it's foolish to think that we all are experiencing life the same way. We're not. We're just not. And it's like, if you don't want to have an abortion, then please don't. But why are you telling other people that they can't. And what is your belief system? Oh no, Colin, can you not hear me again?
I can hear you. It's just it is headache inducing. Maybe our commenters can say whether or not it's just a me hearing you thing, but just randomly, your audio will turn and it'll have this like kind of clipping, buzzing thing going on over it. Um, I'm sure you're about to talk and it's about to be gone. But I mean, it's clear what they think. It's clear what they've been saying what they think the whole time. So that's never been a point of confusion for me. It's just like, how do we arrive at a consensus here?
Yeah.
You know, I things get so difficult when we get into these super, existential questions of what is life and stuff, and to trust that to the intuition of normal people who are by and large idiots is like, I mean, this is a philosophical question that the most smart people on earth have struggled with. And instead, everyone's just like supposed to have some sort of an intuition about what life is and why, what makes it important and what makes the end of a life consequential. I don't, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I think it's hard. And I wish we could get to a place where we trusted the other side's intentions, that they
Yep.
really wanted to get to, when is the baby viable? Is that really something that means something to them? It isn't. If you believe conception is the moment, then it's all or nothing. The decision was made, you know, at well, not at ejaculation, but as soon as the egg was fertilized. A
Yep.
moment that happened that you might not even you weren't aware of. That is when the decision was made that this is now a person.
Yep.
And it's not like I don't have sympathy for that. It's just there's still a woman involved. She doesn't get discounted because her egg got fertilized.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think I wish I could have a real conversation and trusted the intentions of the other side. And I think that is where we are in trouble right now. Is we have spent too long trying to trust the other side that we could have a real conversation when they were playing a different game than we were. They
Mm-hmm.
knew what their agenda was the whole time. And I'm going to back it all the way back to Donald Trump. Okay, let's go all the way back to when he won the nomination and the Republican Party was like, we don't like this dude. He's not for us, right? In the beginning, Ted Cruz was saying, this guy's nutso. What are we doing? How is this
Yep.
the guy we're going to pick? And then suddenly they all shut up and got in line. Why did they shut up and get in line? And I will tell you why, because one of Trump's aides handed the Republican Party a list of judge nominations from the top to the bottom, depending on what circuit they were in, whatever. These are the people that I want to nominate. The whole goal being to eventually overturn Roe versus Wade so that we can have a conservative Supreme Court. That was
Yep.
the whole purpose of Trump's presidency. That's all it was. So we watched we watched the end of the Obama presidency where nothing was getting done in Congress, right? They were purposely just making everything hard. We watched most of the Trump presidency being the exact same way. They were wasting time. They were filibustering. They were reading Green Eggs and Ham. They were just being weird because it didn't matter. Wasting time was the goal. What they needed was to wait out the Supreme Court and be able to get the ones in they wanted because they were always playing a different game than we were playing.
Yep.
You cannot, I said it to you earlier, you cannot win a war with hugs and good intentions. And that's what the Democratic Party has been doing. They keep thinking, we can make people come to their senses. No, they can't. They can't, because what is happening is we are taking poor people who very often lean very hard on religion, right? And very hard on family values, because it's what has worked for them, right? It's what makes sense in their lives. It's a simple way of living that I can respect and I understand. So if you lean on somebody's faith and use that as justification for bad acts, you now have this entire base of people that are supporting you, even though it hurts them. But they think they're doing the wrong thing. They think you represent those ideals as well, even though you do not. They are on their own mission with their own agenda. And I'm very bothered by it. Okay, you know, keeping women down, keeping poor people down, keeping poor people poor. Right now, we saw what happened with COVID when people stayed home from work and suddenly they realized they weren't going to go back and do that again. They weren't going to continue to be exploited. They wanted to expect more of themselves, right? They wanted a company to treat them better. We continue to watch the rich get richer. Trickle down economics is a lie. Nothing trickles down. The people at the top get richer and richer. The people at the bottom stay low. We looked at those statistics, right? Since the 90s, when the mean income was what, $40,000 a year, and now we're at 42.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the cost of living has increased like 3 times. It's
Yep.
it's writing itself. They need people to stay low and not working, right? These reasons that people would not have children, to better themselves, to give themselves a better opportunity to have children later on when they can afford it and when they might appreciate them. All of those things are a factor, but we need people at the bottom, you know, being good cogs in the machine.
Yep.
You talk while I mess with my audio.
You know, it is infuriating, and it is, it's just so hard to be, logical in the face of all of this, because there's so many cases that are in front of us that are just like that. I saw a case recently. Union busting has become, a major element of current policy, and the Starbucks unions around us are attempting to form. And it is. I will say it is very, very difficult to separate fact from fiction. But there was a story, and simultaneously, I hope it's fact and I hope it's fiction, about a separate coffee company that was offered a contract by Starbucks to
I heard this.
temporarily, close temporarily and send their baristas to Starbucks while while Starbucks was searching for new ones. And Starbucks had offered $8 million per head for those baristas, which $8 million is like a barista doesn't make that in a lifetime. And
Yeah,
but you can actually see how, in terms of dollars and cents, if they believe that this action is going to prevent a union from taking root in whatever area, you can see how it's worth it to them. But then that money was being kind of scalped off the top by the coffee franchises, and it's just that that this is kind of a predictable result of how much information is out there at this point.
mm-hmm.
But uh, while good information is difficult to come by, we are all hearing each other's crazy work stories, and we're all hearing just like
Yes.
how common being taken advantage of is right now. And you do feel a little bit of a rumbling beneath the surface. I wonder if this is if you think about the story of our country and the end of of politics, I wonder if the Republican Party is about to lose something to rally behind because this is going to happen. I mean, this has been all the Republican Party has been about, besides like subtle ways to fuck over poor people. This has been all the stuff that they've campaigned on is preventing abortion for 50 years. And they got past the post in 50 years. And I do wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a like, all of those single issue voters, of which I'm sure that there are many, are going to go, okay, well, mission accomplished. And
I don't know if it's been
really,
50 years. I don't know if it's been 50 years because I will say when Roe v. Wade
73.
was okay, but so that was seven justices, right?
Yep.
At the time, I believe some of those were Republican justices that voted for Roe v. Wade. So
Yes, but ever since then, Republicans running for
okay.
office have brought up a need to overturn Roe v. Wade. This has been the talking point of politicians attempting to get, Republicans into office. This has been what they campaigned on because it is so galvanizing. And I mean, it's interesting when you look at the statistics in our country. It does kind of reflect that there has been an imbalance in the force in terms of abortion. I mean, things have not changed in terms of all other topics, the country has gotten significantly more left, even in the areas that you consider right, on topics like gay marriage and gay adoptions and transgender rights and everything. We've gotten more left on almost every topic. Universal health care, basic income,
Yep.
literally everything. We've gotten more left.
Yep.
If you look at opinions on abortion since 73, they're the same. Nothing has changed. They bebop that. All they do is just go back and forth, up and down at the same level. And what hasn't changed is, in terms of slightly for and slightly against, it's always been in this country essentially even. It's been Republicans and Democrats, and it's been essentially even. And it's always been that the number of people that think it should be illegal in all cases and in no cases are about even. There's slightly more no cases, or slightly more legal in all cases. And then the majority of the country is it should be legal in certain cases, which I think is when you get into cases of rape, cases of incest, cases of statutory rape, cases of potential mortality issues, cases where it's before viability. That's where you capture that largest percentage of the country, where I think something like 75% would be in support of a bill that is just viability, sexual assault, and what's the other thing I said? Mortality. And that this has not changed. So, the writing has been on the wall here, because for 50 years, there's only been one case, and it's the case that has been Roe v. Wade, and the opinion hasn't changed. So I don't know if there's any way to dig ourselves out of this hole, unless we see a massive swing for Democrats or for leftists in this next midterm election, in which case then they'd have a large majority and they would still do nothing.
Here's my
So I
problem.
don't think there's anything to do.
Here's my problem. So even if, we suddenly get this outpouring of people that are like, okay, we need to vote Democrat more than ever, it seems like wasted effort to me, because Democrats are ineffective. Just like I said, they like to blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
They like to talk, but not, I can't figure out what I'm doing.
But not actually take advantage of the system in the same way that Republicans have been able to justify. But
yeah,
the thing is that the thing that allows you to play the game the way that Republicans have been playing the game is a conviction that something truly awful is happening on the other side, right? If these Republicans truly believe that we are sanctioning government murder, which I don't think they all do, but I think some of them do, then of course you would go to any means necessary to make whatever happens to prevent that murder. If you put me in front of a situation where I could do something that prevented 100 child rapes, which 100 child rapes, several million murders, I think you'd say the murders, I would do almost anything on earth to prevent that. I would, and if you brought up things like corruption and like standards and practices of Congress, I would shit on the floor. Go fuck yourself. That doesn't matter. That doesn't. We're talking about different scales of things. Well, now Democrats get to feel like that. Now, hopefully, and my hope is small. Hopefully, Democrats might feel like the stakes are high again. Maybe they haven't felt like that, but now maybe they're willing to actually play the game. And then hopefully, while they're playing the game, they fix the game, dude.
Fix the game.
Somebody fix the game at some point, please. There's no perfect incentive system out there. There's none. But
listen, we have so many. Yeah, we have so many of these old people that have, because we have no term limits, they've been there forever. We can't get them out. They are playing a different game back when they started, and they think that's the game that we're still playing. They also think that's the world we still live in, and it is not. And we need them out. We need them out. And we need people that can get stuff done and will play dirty. Listen, I love to think that we have the moral high ground if you're a liberal, but it doesn't matter if you have the moral high ground if you're just going to let the other side just roll right over you. It doesn't matter. And so, we have the Women's Health Protection Act that has been sitting in Congress for I don't know how long, for the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it to a vote. Bring it to a vote. That protects women's rights to get an abortion and makes it a law. Take it out of the Supreme Court's hands, because it'll be a law at that point that has been decided by the people who are meant to decide the laws. Because the Supreme Court's job is to just say, is this law constitutional? Does this jive with the rules that we have set forward, the big rules? That's what their job is. And take it out of their hands. Say, we've made it a law. As a nation, this is what we're going to do. Because, listen, I think we've talked about states' rights before. They keep making this about states' rights to decide what is right for them, and abortion, right? But we've talked about states' rights before, and it was slavery. Let the states decide what's right for them. No. Some things are bigger, just like gay marriage. There was a point where we let states decide that, but some things are bigger, and we have to decide as a country where we're going to draw the line. And listen, I don't love abortion. I don't love it. But I also don't think that I get to decide for other people what's right for them. I am not living their life, and I am not in their circumstance. And I certainly think that if you've been raped, you didn't get to make a choice already. You don't just become an incubator against your will. It's gross. It dehumanizes women. I hate it, and it makes me mad.
It just feels like none of them have considered it's like there's an easy thought experiment to perform that I think most Republicans I think Democrats would actually be more likely to show up on the pro-life side of this thought experiment, which is essentially imagine that there was a person whom you had never met and for whom you bear no responsibility, who relies on you for, you need to work a certain amount of time per day. You need to give up mental health, and you give up a large number of things, or they die, right? Should you be required by law to do these things for them? Even if they're a person, I don't think you should be required by law to do this for them, right? And then you insert the are they actually a person debate. And I'm like, this is a great double of no. Even if they are a person, I don't think that you can just require that somebody.
Listen, I get what you're saying, and it hits me a little different, because to me, you said the Democrats would get on board with this. I feel like Republicans are very much like, why do I have to take care of you?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Democrats
be responsible
would be
for yourself.
more likely to be like, well, you got to take care of the people, even though. No, Republicans would be like, no, it's all about independent freedoms, which is what's crazy about this, is that it's one case where both sides, I don't think, really agree with their own arguments when they think about them, because it's such an emotional topic. But to me, it's just the law can't require you to be like a caretaker for some random person, especially.
Well, that's where adoption comes in, right? Just apparently only 4%, I believe, of unwanted pregnancies result in somebody giving them up for adoption. It's a very low number. It's surprisingly low. And
okay, but adoption happens after the kid is born, bro.
Exactly.
I'm talking about the
I agree.
pregnancy part.
Yeah, no, I've heard many people. I think the phrasing right now that I hear a lot is, I don't want to give up my body to raise, some asshole's child. If she got pregnant and she didn't want it. I don't know. I have a lot of problems.
Who assigned me a fucking responsibility to you? Somebody that wants a kid. Hey man, great that you want a kid. Figure that shit out. But who assigned me this fucking homework? Okay, I graduated. Fuck you. I don't give a. I don't care about you at all. Get away from me. I don't care about you wanting a kid. I just it's such a
It's
weird
very
thought
weird.
process.
We don't take care of each other right now, right? There's not this belief system that the government,
Oh, you're really doing it.
there's not this, okay. There's not this belief system that the government, already has an obligation to you, right? We don't believe that the government should take care of its people. You're old, you're on, we have to pay for Medicare for old people? Ew, gross. I don't want to do that. Wait,
Yep.
disabled people? No. Uh, People that had children and didn't plan ahead, free lunches for them, for those kids at school? Ew, gross. We do not
Mhm.
take care of each other. Getting people a reasonable education at a reasonable price, forgiveness of school loans. Oh, well, I had to pay my own, so why shouldn't you? We do not care about each other. We don't. And so suddenly caring about an unknown person in my body, why do they care more about that than every single other person in this country? When did we get so obsessed with ourselves and yet what's inside somebody else's uterus at the very same time? If we care about each other, then do it all the way. Care about each other. Help those people to have the children, to be able to take care of them. You know,
As per
it's
usual, religion completely clouds judgment, and it takes away somebody's ability to be objective about anything. Because obviously, all of these ideas are semi compelling. All of these thoughts here, but in the end, when somebody has this false trump card of, well, the good book tells me so, I mean, it takes away their responsibility to be a reasonable citizen. So it's a big fucking joke.
yeah. No, I just have a real. I'm just watching all of these laws and laws and laws come in, and the idea that we want smaller government, not bigger government, that we want fewer laws, that we want more freedoms, when we're doing the exact opposite. Everything we're doing is pointed in the other direction, and we've fooled ourselves to think differently. It's driving me crazy. Like I don't know how to get on with the social or the cognitive dissonance. It's I don't know. I don't know. It's I'm very mad about it.
I guess my question is, uh, if I was raped and I formed an LLC, could my LLC get an abortion? That might be how you get a Republican on board with allowing abortions, is allow a corporation to do it.
Wait, say that again.
It was a
Oh,
great joke that I would love to have land
wait,
a
wait, wait.
second, but
Are you talking like make abortions part of the capitalist industry? Making
I'm
it
saying I get pregnant and the Republicans have taken away my ability to get an abortion. But I transfer my fetus to a limited liability trust. And then that trust offloads the assets as a deduction, and we claim that. Would I be able to abort that fetus then? As I mean, it's a demonstrable asset, right? It's decreasing my portfolio, and I as a business need to be able to offload assets like that, especially in Texas. So
uh, okay. No, I. This is an interesting thought experiment that I'm afraid to go
hey,
further down.
hey, Criddle, thank you for liking my joke. I really appreciate it. I knew that there would be one listener that was like, "Oh, dude, Colin popping off with the tax code abortion jokes." Okay, that's what I'm here for. Okay, I've got live shows at the Comedy
Oh,
Cellar and at New York Comedy Live, and it will be all tax liability stuff.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. So aside from getting the Democratic Party to actually vote on the Women's Health Care Protection Act, a couple of other things that I think we can do is if you want to, listen, even though, how would I say this? Even though my husband has a vasectomy, I'm not concerned about getting pregnant generally. I could still get raped. Something could happen, right? I would like to have access to emergency contraception. I will let you know that you can purchase that on Amazon right now. Emergency contraception, Plan B, is available on Amazon. I think we would the thought process right now is to discourage you from going to CVS and making a purchase and to, buying it like you would buy toilet paper, because there could be people that really need emergency contraception right now. And, you want that to be on the shelf for them right
So
now.
do it online.
But if you want to have some for backup, you can go and get some on Amazon. I also want to tell you that Plan C, which is an abortion pill, you can go to planc.org, and you can, in theory, stockpile on that depending on what the laws are in your state. You can
How
stockpile,
long does it last?
like the shelf life.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess it's around 18 months, but I can't verify that. I don't, I would be.
I will find it. Plan C expiration.
So Plan C is after you're already pregnant. That is one of the things they use.
Less than 11 weeks.
Yep. I'll also say that while you're trying to find that, Colin, there's also on Mother's Day they're trying to kind of start this movement where women basically just nope out of society. We don't go to the grocery store. We don't go to restaurants. We don't go to work. We kind of let the world feel the impact of our loss. I mean, I like it as a concept. I think that is a luxury to be able to do that kind of stuff. It is a luxury to be able to tap out of your life. I think it would be unreasonable for me to expect all women to be able to do that. Some people just can't. If you are a single mother, you need to be in the world doing what you got to do. And I think that's half the point, right? You need to be in the world doing what you have to do. You need to be a cog in the machine, and they know that. They know that, and they need you there, and they want you there. They want to keep you where you're at, doing what you're always doing. But it's just, I don't know.
Well, also, okay, sorry, I'm still on this Plan C thing. I mean, presumably it will still be available in the states where it's legal. So I'm willing to bet there will be some underground networks established for shipping Plan C to individuals that need it in states where it's not legal.
Right. Even though some of the legislation is written in such a way that you're not allowed to get it online and send it. But, having worked at the post office, they cannot open your mail without a real reason for it. So you can 100% ship that in there. Just don't tell the truth.
People ship drugs all the time.
They sure do.
Pretty common thing.
Sometimes a dog will sniff it, but usually they don't. Because there's got to be a reason.
Also, dude, imagine them fucking training a dog to sniff abortion pills. I mean, what a waste of time.
Yeah, because they're hormonal based is what they are. So
yeah,
one would assume that would be a challenge.
Well, and if they did train it, I bet there would be ways to fake out the dogs, and then we could find a way to protest. I've been just thinking of like clever ways to protest terrible policies lately. And yes, if it was hormonal based, we will find some way to get the same smell as whatever triggers that dog. And everyone, when they send any letter, just rub it over that envelope. Get those dogs to freak out at literally everything. God. Send a bunch of nonsense mail. Then you can support the post office and fuck over those dogs.
Oh my gosh. So I also wanted to say, okay, so this is just me. I woke up this morning with terrible inspiration based on all of this stuff making me mad. And I don't know, maybe it's good inspiration. I don't know. Well, let's discuss it a little bit. As somebody who likes to do a certain level of art and who has very much been enjoying putting mine and your faces on propaganda, it's been fun. I would like to, and I'm just going to say trigger warning, on this. I would like to take some of these people, like Ted Cruz, who has had terrible things to say with regards to women's rights. And I would like to slap his head on a very realistic looking rape piece of imagery and make it look as though he is raping somebody. And then I would like to put one of his terrible quotes on there. Or I would like to put his wife as the person being raped, or one of his children. Now, I realize this is terrible what I am saying, but I want to do these things for every one of these politicians who has had something absolutely abhorrent to say. And then I want it blown up and outside of their house or outside of their office, somewhere where they have to visually see themselves depicted in one of these terrible scenarios. Because I
Yep.
told you about 13 states that have trigger laws, and only 4 of them had an exception for rape. And
Yep.
when you don't have an exception for rape in particular, that means to me that you do not care about women at all, that we are not important in the scenario. And so to put I would like to make some disgusting art that is purposeful, that I want people to see, that hurts people in a different way.
I've got a lot of experience getting in trouble for disturbing art. I don't know if you know, Mom. Um,
I do.
uh, oh, yeah, I think that they called you about it. And I will just throw it out there that I feel the same way about your idea that I did about my own, which is if you are more mad about the disturbing art than the fact that what it's representing is something that can actually happen, but you just want to have fucking blinders on to the fact that this is a situation, right? If there's no clause in there that somebody can be impregnated through a sexual assault and you won't allow them to get an abortion, then what this is depicting would actually happen. And if you find the art offensive, what I find the offensive is the fact that this could end up and will end up being someone's story. This will be something that happened in their life, and no one deserves that. I think I am in a camp of people that believes there's a lot of people that deserve a lot of bad stuff, but no one deserves to be forced to carry to term a child that they got through a sexual assault. And if you're more offended by the artwork, I would ask you to look inward and figure out why you're an idiot.
Thank you. I think I needed to hear that. Thank you.
Well,
But it's
I
how
mean,
I feel. Some
when
people
was I
are
gonna
visual
come out on
learners.
when was I going to come out on the other side of this? Hey, hey, baby, a little bit of context for you from your boy. Uh,
Let's hear some context.
your boy went to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of the most prestigious colleges, not to brag, and then met a woman who was forcibly raped outside of a dorm by another one of the students. And I engaged in multiple methods of protest against how they protected this fucking rapist. But one of the things that I did, really more for me than for anyone else, is draw the guy beheaded. Hey, what are you going to do? Look, I was having a little fun. I wasn't seeing much that I loved out in the earth, so I wanted to see something I loved on the page. And I got in a lot of trouble because while the school does sanction rape, it doesn't sanction art that it construes as death threats against its students. So, especially students raping. So, I got in a lot of trouble, and I got the police called on me. And the police came to my room, and I wasn't there, and they got so mad that I wasn't in my room. And I was like, sometimes I'm other places, and they were like, why weren't you in your room? And then I got called into the dean's office, and the dean was a fucking idiot. And the dean called my mom on this podcast. Called my mom and let her know everything that was going on, which my mom and I have a pretty good relationship, so she knew. And one of the most goated things my mother has ever done, greatest of all time mother, was respond to the dean of one of the best schools in the entire country and go, I know, why are you calling me? Which is how I felt. He articulated it to the fucking dean, okay? This dean got $10 million a year. And my mother on the phone with this dumb bitch, just like, yeah, don't call me. He's an adult. And hung up on him. Dude, my mom's the best. So,
Is that what I did?
You might not have hung up. That part might be embellished. But the other part you definitely did. But which I remember because they told me they were going to call you. And I said, no, you're not. No, you're not. I was trying to, I was on the spot, but I was trying to figure out what laws they were violating by calling you. Because I'm an adult man. You're sharing private information or something. I was trying to figure out what it was. But obviously I never sued them. I just put them on blast on multiple forms of media. But yeah, no, good stuff. I was so mad.
You did other stuff stuff as well. I mean, I think that was the one that threw it over the top was the beheading portion. But before that, there was all these public chalkboards on the campus,
That
and
wasn't
you would
before.
just
That was
write.
after.
Oh, okay. You would just write that MIT. I don't know. You said something. It had the word rapist in it. You were
That
just
was
like,
that was senior year when he got let back into the institute. A little bit more context for you boys. Hey, they cut a deal with this guy. This what do you call him, Mom? A rapist? And they cut a deal with my boy, and they said okay, we will drop the case if you're not here for the rest of the time that this girl goes here. Because one thing that rapists never do is reoffend. They only rape one, and they go, now I'm done. I'm done raping. And so they kicked him out for 2 years. I did not realize that it was 2 years. I thought he was expelled. And then my senior year, I saw him on campus and nearly went into a murderous rage. And as a response to that, I engaged in a protest against the school, calling MIT rapist enablers, which I argued was fact and thusly not defamation. But
it was fact. Yeah, he would write it on chalkboards all over the place.
Yeah, and the great thing is that when you do something like that, it's a worse look for them to erase it. So it just stayed up. It's just stayed up because they didn't want to be the ones that erased the thing that was calling them rapist enablers. So good stuff, man. Good stuff. But in the large scheme, my mom's the goat. They made me write a 3-page document about what I learned from the scenario with that beheading one. The beheading one was when I was a freshman, when I didn't know he was going to be expelled yet. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you were trying not to have an altercation with him, and he would sort of. There was one point where didn't he like start chest bumping with you or something? I don't know, some weird thing.
He didn't know who I was, I think, was the main thing. He was not keeping up to date on who this girl's boyfriend was, I don't think. And he was part of a different campus group, and I was part of a campus group, and they were starting an event in the same place that our event was, and they were getting mad that we were taking up space that they had reserved, which, I mean, not to, play devil's advocate for a rapist, but they had reserved it. But he came over to me not knowing who I was yet and being like, you guys got to get the fuck out of here. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so funny that you're mad about where we are here because I'm mad about when you raped my girlfriend. And then I started screaming at him. And I screamed in front of a bunch of pre-freshmen that were deciding whether or not to get into MIT. So they didn't love that either. But
nope, probably not. Probably not.
What are you going to do, man? What are you going to do?
I mean, you always do everything. Well, not even everything. This is you toning it down. This is you saying, I am trying not to get expelled, but also I can't sit here quietly by. And so, I don't know. I wish my audio was consistent.
The fact that you're able to do a live podcast from a trailer is already asking too much of God. So I think the audio is something we got to deal with,
Yeah, I mean, I think you were trying to do everything you could do to keep yourself together in this impossible circumstances of them doing nothing about a rapist. And that's what happens on college campuses everywhere. They ignore it. They make it the woman's fault. Just close your legs. There's no end. There's no end in sight. And when you see laws like this, like, overturning Roe v. Wade and not having any exceptions for rape half of the time, I don't know how you can think anything other than everything that a man does is a woman's fault.
Yep. I mean, it's incredibly common. And when you hear these stories about, small towns that discover a chemical crisis, and as soon as something comes out about it, this legion of lawyers comes looming down, and you realize the true power of the company. Well, that is true of, and I'm not exaggerating here, every college in America, because sexual assault cases are incredibly toxic to the thing that's most important to these colleges, which is their admissions rate. It's incredibly toxic to that. And rape cases happen at every single college
Every
because,
single
of
one.
course, they do. Unless the size of the college is so statistically small that they have somehow foregone it, right? If they have a 20-person college, maybe it didn't happen this year. But otherwise, every school has a sexual assault accusation every month. My school, the classes are 1,000. It's not a huge school, but there's a sexual assault accusation every month. And I got to witness the full brunt of a school with an endowment the size of a small country. And that means lawyers and police and a whole system that will attempt to placate the victim in such a way that it never touches the media. And they did it with me too. I mean, they did it very effectively with me in my protests and in just trying to keep it just quiet enough that it didn't get out to any larger media source. And they did great. Look, they're very, very talented at what they do because millions and millions of dollars do that. But we got to witness for the time that I was dating this woman during her sexual assault case, we got to witness those lawyers and those policemen and those members of Title IX who are supposedly independent, but they're not, and those members of the VPR, the Violence Protection and Rape Association, all of which are supposed to be independent, actively bully the victim out of going public with their accusations or trying to get any criminal charges in a case where there were witnesses of the sexual assault.
Yeah.
They're just saying you're going to ruin your life by going to, and they're very, very good because millions of dollars are very good at convincing people. And this is true of all of the colleges. So whenever you hear a story that does get out at these colleges, just know that it overcame insurmountable odds to get out. And sometimes I feel bad for the college. I'm like, I can't believe it was you this time because it's every college. People are like, oh man, Baylor is so bad. Minnesota is so bad. Miami is so bad. Harvard's so bad. Columbia is so bad. Look, man, it's the same. Some of them have cultures. Some like Minnesota is actually objectively very, very, very terrible. But some of them have cultures. Some of them, this is just how colleges are right now. Some of them aren't taking a certain institution off campus because there's an alumni from it that gives an incredible amount of money. I'm looking at you, Phi Beta Epsilon at MIT and Delta Tau Delta. Your rich ass alumni keep you raping women. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
But we're not important, right?
I mean, not unless you have access to a great lawyer. Hey, call me back when you have $1 million to spend on the retainer of a lawyer. Otherwise, you're not going to win this against this body that has $100 or $200 or $300 billion endowment. Let's look up the endowment.
Now we've gone all the way sideways if we're looking up the endowment.
$27.4 billion. Chump change, baby.
Oh, my Lord. That's a big endowment.
That's for MIT. That's a small school, right? Well, let's look up Harvard. Let's look it up. Bunch of presidents. I bet they've got a big old endowment. All right, everyone take your bets.
Get to do whatever they want.
Everyone take your bets. Assets under management, $54 billion.
Billion. That is a very big number.
Hey, but they don't pay taxes on it because it's a 501c3.
Perfect. Yeah.
Hey, everyone.
Taxes
Harvard can suck my dick.
for poor people.
Okay?
Taxes are for poor people.
Taxes are for poor people. Oh, boy. Okay, that was a little bit of an aside.
But it's all related. It's all related. I'm just saying. I don't know what I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't like the idea that women are starting to be just further treated. The more we try to be treated more like human beings, the less they want us treated like human beings. The more ways they try to keep us down. I mean, I'm hearing more and more about women that want nothing to do with men at all. It's like, well, you can't have that. Can't have that. We got to make sure that if you get pregnant, that you have babies, and then let's go rely on a man, right? Because you can't possibly do it on your own. We've made sure of that by forcing the matter and making you have babies when you weren't ready. I believe you said there's not a correlation between, what did you say, abortions and
and the number of
future.
children that an individual woman has. So that's kind of an interesting thing, because you would assume that, you know, for each child that is aborted, there's one fewer child on the planet. But the reality is that most women that get abortions do not represent a woman that will never have a child. They represent a woman that can't have a child now, or can't support a child now, or doesn't want a child now. There's any number of cases, right?
Mhm.
What you actually end up doing when you take abortion away as an option is you force them to have a child that they don't want, and then, because they are unable to build the foundation because they've had a child too early, or in any circumstance, they have fewer children later on. So many women that do get abortions will have women when they're have children when
Children.
they are prepared to have children. And when you're prepared to have children, you're more likely to have multiple intentionally. And those children are more likely to go on to be prosperous and positive citizens, because they
Yeah.
grow. But shouldn't we just want as many kids growing up in a good situation as possible? Isn't that the best thing to want? That's such a good thing to
No.
want. I want
No.
it so
We
bad.
we need poor children to be the cogs, man. We need the bottom cogs. They're the most important. You need
Yeah,
them. That's the one you need the most of. You
we
only
need
need
them to
one
fill up
super
the
cog.
prison system. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that they can make pants.
So they can make pants. So they can dig ditches. So they can sweep floors. Because rich people don't know how to do those things,
Yep.
or don't want to. And hey, man, it's fine. I don't want to either. It's fine. But don't you just don't force people. I just hate it. I hate everything right now. I hate everything. America is fucked up, and if we do not fix it, this is where you're going to live, in a nice fascist country. We're so, they're so afraid of socialism when they should be afraid of fascism.
Yep. Well, there are things to look positively at.
What?
Old people die.
Old people die.
That's a good starter. I'm really coming around on this whole COVID thing. Okay, with how old people are acting up
We did
lately,
it wrong.
we did it wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to tell you, we've done it wrong.
We
We
should have
should have just
vaccinated
let
the
them.
young.
We should have established term limits via COVID. You can't be
Yes.
senator when you've died of COVID. So there's a start there. I think that we should have just deployed COVID in the Senate. Democrats and Republicans, fuck the old ones. So there's something to be positive about. I do genuinely think that millennials, Gen Xers, I mean, that obviously it's a sliding scale, but millennials and Gen
Sliding
Zs
scale.
are honestly concerned about democracy. I do think that I hate the word, but I'm going to say it. The quote woke side of the left has become the new religious right, and that's a little rough, but we can overcome. Okay, we just need more punk music, but we can overcome. We haven't had enough punk music lately. Okay, we'll get it back to the mainstream. We'll fix that whole thing. But I do genuinely think that there are good ideas that will eventually become policy. Um, some of them we need to become policy earlier than others, like global warming type issues. But there are
Yeah.
things to be talking about, and also Gen Xers. It's like they've been completely skipped over for office. Are we going to wait until you guys have Alzheimer's to elect you? Hey, look,
I mean,
Gen Xers aren't perfect, but they at least. I mean, look at this. Look at this comment
how
section.
old's Ted Cruz? I
Gen X.
have a
You
feeling.
got some great ideas. I'll elect one of you guys.
Should I see if I can get myself elected here in Mississippi? I guess I need to become an official resident.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. Elizabeth absolutely does. I don't know. I don't know. Listen. Gen Xers, we are a mess because we don't trust anybody, right? So half of us are very into QAnon nonsense because we think everything's a conspiracy. Everybody's out to get us. So there's that half of us. And then there's another portion of us that just feel like, you know, I've got my own stuff to do. The world's gonna suck no matter what. That's
Yeah.
a real view of Gen Xers is they're just used to things being shitty. And, for some reason we made our children believe they could change the world because we didn't feel like we could. So so
We might be able to,
that
it could happen.
man, and those listen, millennials are awesome, but there's something special about those Gen Z kids. They do not F around. Maybe because they've always had phones in their hands. They've had access to information the
I'm
whole
the
time.
oldest Gen Z, right?
Yeah, you're right there on the edge, aren't
I,
you?
it's been decided. I'm Gen Z. Ellie, even though she's a month younger than me, is basically Gen X, but we'll say millennial because she doesn't know how to use her phone. But I'm on TikTok. Your boy's on TikTok, okay? I'm Gen Z. Oh, hey, and I whip and I nay nay. So yeah, I've got some big ideas, and I will be running. And I've told you about this policy before, but I will be running for New York mayor very, very soon. And I have an innovative new, and I'm announcing it today on our emergency
Okay.
podcast. I will be running for
Okay.
New York mayor. Now, there's a lot of complaints about single issue candidates, but your boy is single issue candidate, and I'm embracing it. Okay, I loved the rent is too damn high guy, and me, I've got a whole new gun policy. Okay, it's called men can't have guns, women must have guns. This is my new policy. Okay, New York, we've always essentially been a social experiment. If you go onto the MTA, there's about 50 different social experiments going on at any given time on any given subway car. And you get to watch them play out. But I want a large scale social experiment of what happens when every man knows that every woman is armed. Okay? What happens? I'll tell you what my guess is. We're not going to fuck around quite as much. And
Gosh.
I think it'll be a good time. I think, mandatory guns for women. Okay. No guns. If a man is caught with a gun, we go, yeah, hey, you better identify as a woman real quick or else. But
I'm surprised that that's the one issue you have. For some reason, I thought if you were going to be a single issue person running for mayor in New York, I thought you were going to run on bathrooms. The fact that there's not enough
oh,
bathrooms.
okay. You know what? Fair enough. I'm no longer a single issue mayor. That's my main one. I will say I'm going to run on that. That's my main one. My next one is public bathrooms. My next one is no cars in Manhattan. That's my next one. No more cars, okay? This is
Okay.
the absolute stranglehold that cars, which almost none of us on the island has on property on this island is nonsense. I want a ring around Manhattan. I want parking structures. But if you want to go into Manhattan, get on a bus, okay? I'm done with this shit. No more cars, okay? Just more public transport. I want more walkable areas. And I also just give me a break. More grass. Just imagine, okay, these streets, man, these streets, they are unusable property. And they're for who? Who are they for? People that can afford parking? That's no one. So there's these streets and they're taking up so much property. Just imagine if 20% of them were grass. Dude, you would go outside every day and all those New Yorkers that are like, hey, I'm fucking walking here. They'd be like sniffing dandelions. And that's my pretty. Okay.
They'd be like, I'm fucking walking here.
I'm walking here. I'm here. I'm here. So Colin for mayor the next time it's possible. Fuck you, Eric Adams. You're a clown. You're a big old clown. Should have been
I'm here
Yang.
for this. Get it done.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I won't win. Look at me and look at all the things I've done in my life. But it'll be fun to run.
Yeah. I mean, do it for the fun to run, and then if you accidentally become mayor, make some stuff happen.
I mean, imagine if I just got onto the debate stage, right? Like,
Yes.
and they try to ask me, things about sanitation, and I'll be like, no more cars. That's what I'm doing. They'll be like, you didn't have this accent 2 years ago. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was just pretending to not have an accent, but truly, real deep down inside, I'm a guy that talks like this. And my face looks like this, and I never talked any other way. And if you just deny it, it's true.
Sounds good to me. I'm here for it. I love it.
All right. We're doing it.
I'd also like to encourage people that have the ability to just move to red states, even though they don't align with you at all politically. And we're just going to turn all red states purple or blue just by invading them. Why am I in Mississippi? I don't know.
This is going to be like Bleeding Kansas a little bit.
Yeah, just do it. Just start taking over. The prices are getting too high in other places. Go find somewhere to live in rural conservative America and start turning it liberal, bit by bit, elbow by elbow, 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 hug.
Absolutely.
Hug,
Hey,
elbow,
we're on the same.
elbow.
We are. I mean, it's crazy how much we talk about extremism, and then these are our opinions. But who cares? We are intellectual fucking guys. I was going to say something else, and I thought better of it.
Can you be an intellectual terrorist? Is that a
That
thing?
was what I was going to say. Don't say it. Don't say it.
But I want to be one.
Oh my god, I'm going to get kidnapped. So I do have to go to a protest about concerning what we're talking about today.
Okay.
So if anyone's in the New York area, we're going to Foley Square, and we're going to tell them, you'll give us back the abortions, even though it's going to be legal. I'm in New York. It's going to be illegal here no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But we are going to go there and say it. We're going to.
Yes.
Because we're mad. Because I'm fired up. So I'm going to go to that. But, just briefly wanted to say, we didn't.
What are you going to put on your sign?
I haven't made a sign yet.
What are you going to put on? I love my mom. I love my mom. I don't know what message that will send, but it feels important.
I love my mom, but if she aborted me, that would have been fine.
No, don't put that part on there.
I don't know. I feel like if it says I love my mom, people might take it as like an anti-abortion stance. I don't know.
It's confusing, but you should love your mom. I'm just saying you should love your mom because she's a person, not because she incubated you.
I support my mom's right to get an abortion.
Perfect. That's going to look weird because then
it's going to look weird.
An arrow pointed at you.
It's verging on suicidal, which is not something I'm trying to put off. But what are you going to do? So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for showing up on this impromptu Nobody Asked. I'm impressed with the showing that we've had. We were planning on having the podcast tomorrow, but then this happened, and we were fired up. So
we were fired up. I was very fired up.
Are we still going to do the one tomorrow?
We can. I don't know what we're going to do.
We're doing it. So
we're doing it.
See us again tomorrow at 5 at our normal time. You guys are all the best. You guys are all hilarious. And I didn't see a single what about the entire time.
Right.
And look, man, that's what we're looking for. That's what we want in an audience, okay? Fuck Russia. Fuck Trump. Fuck the Supreme Court at the moment. And Eric Adams. But, hey, who cares? Nobody asked. Play us out.
Oh, shit. I wasn't ready. I'm so slow. Here we go.
Nobody asked about your opinions. Nobody asked about your opinions.
We don't care about the Supreme Court. Alito can eat a dick. He hates women. His mom hates him. His kids hate him.
It's an abortion.
His wife hates him.
Give women a gun.
His smells weird.
Uterus.
He's got a cheesy wisdom. He's got smelly groin. Oh. Nobody asked. Out. And brought